2026. Every block, every ballot, every voice. This ain't left or right. This is right now. OVC. Teachers shaping minds. Vets who stood strong. Gig workers hustling just to get along. Parents, elders, first-time voters in line. Same clock ticking, same moment in time. No dark money whispers. No backroom deals. Daylight choices and the truth that's real. Labels don't own us. We bigger than size. Accountability lives where democracy thrives.
Our vote counts. Yeah, remember the name. Every voice heard. We don't play no games. From the city to the plains, let freedom resound. Different stories, same future. United we found. Our vote counts. Stand tall, no doubt. Integrity first. Let the people speak loud. From the city to the plains, let freedom resound. Different stories, same future. United we
Clear
found.
facts, no spin. Education unlocked. Breaking down the process from the door to the box. Who earns the trust? Who shows up to serve? Asking the questions. Leaders got nerves. Neighborhoods talking. Town halls packed. Local voices first. Yeah, we built it like that. Different faiths, views, so walking as one. Democracy stronger when we all get it done. Yeah.
Our vote counts, yeah, remember the name. Every voice heard. We don't play no games. From coast to coast, let the movement expand. Power in the people, future in our hands. Our vote counts, stand tall, no doubt. When we show up informed, that's what it's all about. Our vote counts, stand tall, no doubt. When we show up informed, that's what it's all about.
This ain't no cycle. Nah, this is a standard. Long-term vision. Principles planned from schools to the boards up to the higher seats. We connect the dots from the block to the streets. Peaceful power, respect and demand. Integrity measured by actions, not plans. OVC active, participation mounts. When the people stand ready, turnout counts. Yeah.
Our vote counts, yeah, remember the name. Every voice heard. We don't play no games. From the city to the plains, let freedom resound. Different stories, same future. United we found. Our vote counts, stand tall, no doubt. Integrity first, let the people speak loud. From the city to the plains, let freedom resound. Different stories, same future. United we found.
Every voice,
Every voice,
every vote.
every vote.
Integrity, inclusion, accountability. OVC.
OVC.
Yeah. 2026. My vote counts. And so does yours.
Hey y'all. Y'all, I'm tired. But I'm here. Tired, but I'm here. Why does it always look like I'm disappearing into the graphic? I choose joy. Hey everybody, welcome to OVC. Our vote counts. Listen, I know y'all got competing interests tonight. There's some kind of speech being given by some sort of oath at an oval, not an Oval Office, but the Capitol building. So I know you got other things, but my suggestion is to dump him and get with me. Get with OVC. We are a better choice for your time this evening. We just are. We're a better choice. And by the time this is over, he'll probably still be talking because he rambles a lot. Like 3/4 of his speech will be about Joe Biden, just off rip. And then by the time he finally gets to the part where he talks about the things he's going to do, that'll be at about 9. And then he'll talk until about 10. So when this is done, he'll still be talking. Okay? So you watch us first. And then you go see the man about a horse or something. Vic has no idea what I'm talking about. Good. You keep yourself pure and innocent, ma'am. Don't be defiled by that orange person. Let's see if the lieutenant governor is here yet. She is not. She is not. Ladies and gentlemen, this evening we'll be featuring the stylings of Lieutenant Governor of Wisconsin, Sara Rodriguez. She is running for governor of the state of Wisconsin, which tonight I learned is either Gretchen Whitmer or Tim Walz. No, it's Tony Evers. Tony Evers is the current governor of Wisconsin, and he is retiring. He is not running for a third term. He's been governor since 2019. He's not running for a third term. So the field of candidates is like, and Lieutenant Governor Rodriguez is one of the many who's running for the seat, including the prior lieutenant governor. He's also running for the governorship. Yeah. The person who came before Sara Rodriguez. Sara Rodriguez does not have an invite to join. Why wouldn't you? No one puts Sara Rodriguez in a corner, honey. Listen, I sent you an invite to join. Join us, join us, join us, join us. Lieutenant Governor Rodriguez, I am channeling you, channeling. Please come to the panel. Come to the panel, ma'am. I'll send it to you again. Unless I sent it, did I send it to the, oh, there you are.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Hi.
Welcome.
Oh, are you at a party?
No, that's not.
Here we go.
We will change the
We will
back.
get the background. There we go.
Hi, hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm well, how are you?
I'm doing well. Yeah, I just met with the Stevens Point, the University of Wisconsin Stevens Point College Democrats. And so I'm sitting in their room after talking to them.
Well, you're going to have to tell them to shh.
Okay, need to shh.
Yes. Listen, this is serious business. This is a serious matter here. We need complete silence. No, I'm kidding. A little bit of background noise is just a little bit. It's okay. But thank you. And you figured out how to do the graphic yourself. We usually have to walk people through that. I love it.
Yes, I will admit that a team member had to help me do that. You know, I turned 50 last year, which means that I struggle with the tickety talks, you know, so they helped me.
Listen. It's okay. It's all right. It's good that the young people are around to help the elders.
It is. It's
with the technologies.
Yeah.
Sometimes
my kids make fun of me all the time. They're 16 and 19. They tell me I do it constantly. Yeah. They make fun of me.
My kids are the reason I am on TikTok. They used to send me the TikToks all the time, and then I was like, "Ooh, what's this? Let me download it." They can't get me off of it. Can't pry the phone out of my hands.
I had to take it off of my phone because I don't have enough self-control to not watch every single video. So,
you know what I'm obsessed with right now? Have you seen that monkey in the Japanese zoo?
Poncho, right? Oh, yes, the little monkey.
Oh my God, the little monkey. Oh, listen, don't get me started. Anyway, you know what? We have a job to do, and I'm distracting. You know what? This is why I only get to ask like 5 questions because I just talk. Hello, everyone. Tonight we are joined by Sara Rodriguez, who is the current lieutenant governor of the great state of Wisconsin. She is running for governor. She's running for the primary, the Democrat primary, for the candidacy of governor for Wisconsin. We're going to be talking to her about her platform, her vision for the future of Wisconsin, and taking your questions live. One thing I forgot to do, I don't know if you did this, Lieutenant Governor, but could you share this with your followers, your TikTok followers, if you haven't already?
Share this with my TikTok followers.
No.
Okay.
Do you know how to do that?
Stop. You know.
It's okay. It's okay.
This is why I have to like ask other people to help me.
It's quite all right.
I know.
It's quite all right. They'll
I need
see.
like a social media like for dummies.
Is it promote?
Is it promote?
No, it's you click the arrow. You see the arrow at the bottom?
Yes.
Okay, you hit that,
Okay.
and then it says share, and then it shows a list of your followers, just like a list of people you recently may have DM'd, and you just go down the list and hit, do.
Oh, you
and
just
then
hit them all.
Hit them all, and then hit send separately,
Oh, okay.
and then it'll let you send to all of those people. I think if you do it that way, you can only send it to like 10 people at a time or something.
Okay.
There's a more complicated way where you can send it to more people, but since you're new to the internet, no, I'm kidding.
You know, my kids are going to watch this and they're going to just be dying that I am such an idiot, right?
No, you're not. It's just, every time they come up with a new social media, it has its own set of like things. And speaking of that, Lieutenant Governor, I
Yes.
shouldn't have to remind you of this, but you can only use certain words on this medium.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
can't use naughty no-no words.
I don't use any naughty no words.
Good.
My mother, when I was growing up, quite literally would probably have washed my mouth out with soap if I ever used any swear words. So she used to say stuff like Jiminy Crickets and dirty words. That was like her biggest thing. So
And for the love of Pete, that's my favorite.
for the love
one.
of Pete. Yeah.
I love that one. I love that. Okay. All right. So now that we've got a nice room of people, and you guys are sending your likes, and you sent your daily heart me's, and all of the wonderful things that people do when they come here. Also, remember in the chat, if you have a question for the Lieutenant Governor, you can leave it in the chat, or you can hit the multi-guest and you can come up and ask her yourself. We're not opposed to that. I'm not opposed to that. That'll give me some time to go get a drink of water, maybe. I don't know. But again, tonight we are joined by Sara Rodriguez, who is the current lieutenant governor for the state of Wisconsin. She is running for the Democrat primary for the governorship. Let's see. I think your primary is in August, right?
It is.
August.
It's in August. It's a long time away. Yeah.
August 11th, 2026. Wow. Okay, so we got to get started then. We don't have enough time. This is Our Vote Counts. We are a nonpartisan coalition of citizens from diverse states and backgrounds united by a shared commitment to empowering voters and promoting candidates who stand for integrity, inclusion, and accountability in the upcoming elections. Our Vote Counts is more than a name. It is a promise, a movement, a rallying cry for democracy. Together, we are shaping the future one informed vote at a time. And so I'm just going to tell the people a little bit about you, Lieutenant Governor. You were born in Milwaukee and raised in Brookfield. You worked as a nurse. You were a nurse do you still get to be a nurse, or do you have to like retire from nursing?
So
Give up your
I still have
license?
my license, and
Okay.
I imagine from the number of people who want to show me their rashes that I'm still a nurse. So
I would hope so. Okay.
yes,
You're a small business owner and you're a working mom. Obviously, you said you have 2 kids. And as Lieutenant Governor, you've been at the forefront of efforts to lower healthcare costs, defend reproductive rights, strengthen public education, support small businesses, and invest in rural communities. You believe, Lieutenant Governor, that your private industry experience combined with public sector experience make you the strongest candidate in the governor's race. For those meeting you for the first time, please tell us more about yourself and why you are running for governor.
So,
Oh, where'd she go? Lieutenant Governor! Lieutenant Governor, please. That was wild. You know what? Listen, if somebody's trying to get her off of here so she can go and watch that State of the Union, I'm going to be very upset. She was just about to tell us more about herself. Where'd she go? Lieutenant Governor, ask one of the young people in the room to help you. Ladies and gentlemen, we have technical difficulties, so I gotta sing my song. Technical difficulties, technical difficulties, technical difficulties, technical difficulties. Where did she leave the room? She's still in the room, but I sent her an invite. Ladies and gentlemen, if you could be anywhere else tonight, where would you be? The answer is nowhere. But if you could be, would you be watching the State of the Union? Would you be watching 1,000-Pound Sisters on TLC? Would you be watching, I'm assuming there's NCAA basketball. Would you be, let's see, what else is on TV? What else? Oh, in the Bahamas. Yes, Fat Man in the Kitchen said he would be in the Bahamas. Yes, that's probably better than looking at inches of snow outside. Or if you're in the New York area, you're looking at feet of snow. T said she would be asleep. Okay, yes, that's reasonable. I probably would also be asleep. You know, Ramadan makes me very tired. Very, 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 very extremely tired. Sarah, Lieutenant Governor, where did she go? Do you know something? I said to myself, today is one of those days where things are just going. I said, but I'm looking forward to this interview because she is actually in the office that's next door to the office that she wants to run for. So I've been looking forward to this. What else? The USA hockey team is apparently at the Air Force Base meeting all of the soldiers. They're going to make their way to the White House. I think some of them were invited to the speech this evening, and some of them declined, which is noble of them. If you have heard the scuttlebutt, there was a bit of controversy in the phone call that they received after their win the other day. You know, just when you want to give a man an inch, you just want to give him just a little bit, he snatches it away. Men's hockey. You know what? Men's hockey is much like the men's U.S. soccer team. They get all the play, they get all the attention, they get all of the, the talk, the fans, but it's the women who are better. The women are better. They are. They always have been. They always have been. You remember that. Sarah. Storms are brewing in your eyes. Are you there?
Yeah.
I am here. I just gotta show me.
Now we have to do the background.
Don't leave me by myself again, Sarah, please.
I
I'll
know.
have to
I
start
don't know what
singing
happened.
again.
These young
There you
people, they
are.
failed me. They failed me.
We had to wait for anybody.
Did they tell you that if you get a phone call, you'll disappear?
No.
Yes, if you get a phone call or a notification, you might disappear. But
Oh,
especially a phone call, you'll disappear entirely.
I can fix it.
Fascinating. Fascinating.
So you're back.
The things I'm learning. That's good. So thank you
Listen,
for being patient with me. I
of
appreciate that.
course, we are here for the candidates. We do this for the candidate. We don't do this for ourselves. We do this for the voters and for you. And we're just good, decent, nice people. So tell a
Thank you.
friend. But also by the end of this, you're going to be a TikTok expert. I guarantee.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Before you were swept away by a large wave, you were telling us about yourself.
Yeah. So I think you said I've been a nurse by background. I have done everything from doing night shift in the ER to being a leader within a large healthcare system. And I never really thought I was going to run for office. This was not part of my plan. When I first started getting more involved, honestly, it was when Donald Trump first came on the scene in 2015, 2016. And many people may know my husband's an immigrant from Mexico. He's a naturalized citizen. And my son was 8 years old at the time when Trump was running, and he was worried that Trump, if he won, was going to send his dad back to Mexico.
Aww.
And it broke my heart that that man's words got into my child's head. And then I didn't think he would win. And then when he won, and I had to wake my child up and tell them they were safe and tell them they belonged and tell them that nobody could make them leave their country. But I told myself I was never going to feel that way again because I hadn't done enough to make sure that that man was not elected into office. And so that's when I went back and I went back to my county Democratic Party and I said, put me to work. I will knock doors. I will make phone calls. I will do whatever you need me to do, but I got to put this energy and frustration somewhere. And so that's what I did for a couple of years. And then I left my big executive job and started my own business and went back to the Waukesha County Democrats, and they wanted me to run for office. And I was like, I don't know that this is what I want to do. But they really felt strongly that there was a assembly district that the state party wasn't investing in, but with the right candidate, they felt like could win. And I had been, this was during COVID, this was 2019, and I had been an epidemic intelligence service officer with the Centers for Disease Control. And so I had done national and international outbreak investigations. And so I know how dangerous it is when we're getting misinformation or disinformation from our leadership. And so I decided to run. I flipped a district from red to blue. It was a 4-term incumbent.
Wow.
And so served in the legislature, for 2 years. And then the lieutenant governor position became available. And, those same Waukesha County Democrats were like, hey, why don't you consider it? Why don't you consider running? And so I did, and we won by 3.5 percentage points in Wisconsin, which, as the governor says, is a landslide for Wisconsin because we're such a purpley state. But I've just been really honored to be able to serve next to Governor Evers. But I knew when Trump won again, I was like, this is the time. I think we need somebody who is going to be able to manage something as large as the state government. We need to have somebody who has established relationships with the Senate and the Assembly and who is not afraid of him, who is going to use that bully pulpit of the governor's office to stand up against Trump. And that is what I am planning on doing to make sure that we can protect Wisconsinites within the state.
Okay, then let's just jump right into it. You mentioned Tony Evers. He's the current governor of Wisconsin, and he's retiring after serving for 7 years. There are 72 counties in Wisconsin. There are, I don't know how many people. Why is this not on my paper? Anyway, the average.
5 million. About 5
About
million.
5
people.
million? 5 million? Okay, you can handle 5 million. Okay, according to the Institute for Reforming Government, which conducted over 14 listening sessions speaking with 100 Wisconsin voters in 2025, the most significant issues are affordability, Cost of living, including housing, healthcare, childcare, inflation, living expenses, and food costs. And in their statewide poll, over 60% of voters indicated that healthcare, taxes, and housing were important issues for their vote. So kitchen table issues are driving voters' choices this midterm. So to voters who are deciding what comes next, in one sentence, why are you the right person to lead Wisconsin right now?
Because I have a plan. It's not just about saying that affordability is an issue. I actually have a plan to lower costs, healthcare costs, housing costs, childcare costs. We are going to make a demonstrable difference in people's lives because we know how important that is. We know we want to make sure that Wisconsin is the best place to live for everybody, seniors, families, young folks. So we have to make sure we've got a plan to lower those costs so people will come to Wisconsin. That was more than one sentence. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. You know, I'm a lawyer, and so sometimes my sentences are one paragraph long. So totally fine. Totally fine. So you served under Tony Evers, Governor Evers. Where do you align with his legacy, and where would you chart a different course?
You know, I so appreciate what he has done with a hostile legislature. We have in Wisconsin, if you don't know, the Assembly and the Senate are both run by Republicans. And he has spent the last 8 years trying to get many things across the finish line and just really struggled with the Republican-led legislature. So I've really, been impressed with his leadership and how many things he's been able to accomplish, even with that hostile legislature. But we're going to govern differently because we're different people. And I would say one area where we actually publicly disagreed recently was I put out a statement saying that we should proactively put out legislation before federal agents or ICE come into Wisconsin. So I said that they should be unmasked, clearly identified, wearing body cams, that they should not be able to go into churches, schools, courthouses, healthcare systems, domestic violence shelters, and that they needed a judicial warrant to be able to arrest people. And he disagreed with me pretty publicly. And I understand where he's coming from, and I have respect for that. He was worried that if we proactively put something out there, then the Trump administration is going to come down even harder on Wisconsin.
Okay.
And for me, I mean, people have tried to appease Donald Trump, and all he does is escalate. So I think we should be proactively protecting Wisconsinites.
Okay, that was actually one of the questions from the chat. If I can go back, it said, do you have a plan if ICE comes to Wisconsin? Well, there you go. She answered your question. She's got a plan.
Yeah.
She's got a plan. So what does effective leadership look like in a politically divided state like Wisconsin?
So I think we have to be open to good ideas that come from anywhere. We have to be able to listen across the state and where people are coming from. So I live in Waukesha County, which, if you don't know, Wisconsin is a pretty red part of the state. Mm-hmm. And I firmly believe that I won my district because I live in the most conservative part of my district. Because however Republicans wanted to paint me, whatever monster they wanted to paint me as, I'm still the mom that shows up for PTO. I'm still the mom who was the Girl Scout leader. I'm the one who volunteers at the Humane Society. So that didn't match what they were trying to paint me as. And when I was in the assembly, I called everybody back, especially if they disagreed with me, because I wanted to hear where they were coming from. I wanted to better understand what their concerns were, and then ask them permission to say, hey, is it okay if I tell you where I'm coming from? And about 80% of the time they said yes, 20% of the time they were just happy to tell me what they thought, and that was it. And that's okay. That's the kind of job that I signed up for. But we have got to make sure that we are leading across the entire state, that we are governor, that I will be a governor for the entire state. And I'm actually the only primary candidate who's gotten endorsements in all 72 counties across the state of Wisconsin. And I feel strongly about that because I've created relationships across the state, and we know that what works in northern rural Wisconsin isn't the same kind of thing that's going to work in some of our bigger cities like Milwaukee or Madison.
Right. Somebody in the chat wants to know what you are expecting from tonight's State of the Union address.
Utter chaos and lies. Just absolute lunacy is basically what I'm expecting.
Gobbledygook.
I just don't know. I mean, I'm a nurse, and in my clinical opinion, the cheese has slid off the cracker.
Ah,
You know, I just, it's a lot right now. And
is
I
that a
think
double
for us,
entendre, as they say?
I am from Wisconsin. We have to have some cheese jokes, you know. But I just think we have to this is not normal. This is what he is doing is not normal. The tweeting, the fact that he can't put a sentence together, that he doesn't remember things from day to day, that's terrifying. I mean, this is the leader that we have in our country, and people have got to be scared about what he might decide to do, tweeting out at 2 a.m. I mean, it's insane. We cannot continue to pretend this is normal.
I agree. All right. So, how would you measure success in your first 100 days as governor?
So one of the things that I've talked about is that I am going to be working with the leadership in the Assembly and the Senate to get my first budget across the finish line. And the things that I want to make sure that we're doing, the things that I'm promising we do, and we're going to put that in the first budget. Because if we piecemeal legislation, that's really easy to pick that apart. So making sure that we've got that plan for healthcare costs to go down, that public option, or we can expand Medicaid in Wisconsin. We're one of 10 states that still has not done that.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of 10 states, that's it.
Yeah.
And because we didn't expand last year, we lost out on about $2 billion. So the Republicans refused to expand Medicaid when there were incentives. And so now it's still the right thing to do. But we could have had $2 billion in our state coffers that we no longer have because the Republicans waited and we weren't able to get that across the finish line. I authored that when I was in the Assembly. I couldn't even get a hearing. They wouldn't even bring it to committee or listen or have a debate on it. It was so frustrating, particularly when over 60% of Wisconsinites want us to do this. We have got to fix our public schools. We have got to change that formula. It is absolutely dire here in Wisconsin. We are top 10 in the country for property taxes. And the reason why we are is because we don't fund our schools properly, so they have to go for referendum, and not to build a new middle school or to put a new science lab in. It is just to keep the lights on, the doors open, and their teachers paid. And so that is on the back of taxpayers here, when we should really, as the state, fund them appropriately. Union bargaining rights have got to be restored in Wisconsin. We have always been a progressive state in terms of union rights, and we have got to make sure that we allow people to collectively bargain in the state of Wisconsin. That is going to raise wages for everybody. We know that when we are able to negotiate for safety, for wages, when we're able to do that as a collective, we can raise wages for all. So those are the kind of things that I'm going to be focused on. And I'm just going to be working to make things just a little bit better for Wisconsinites. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention childcare. So as a mom myself, and it is insane how much childcare costs. My kids are older now, thank the Lord, that I don't have to pay for childcare. But the federal government actually says for childcare to be affordable, it should be no more than 7% of your income. The average amount for one kid in childcare in Wisconsin, and that's less than some states, is $13,000 a year. So I don't know if you got any math savants who are listening to this TikTok, but that's $185,000 a year that you would have to be making to have one child in childcare be affordable. That's
Absolutely
insane to
not.
me.
That's
So
insane.
we should treat it like the infrastructure
no.
that it is. Make sure that families can afford it, because we know that that's going to boost our economy.
And just to go back to that, I mean, if you want people to go to work and you want people to have more children,
Yep.
well, what are they going to do with the babies when they go to work? What about the babies?
Well, and we have childcare deserts all across Wisconsin. There are people who tell me in like the western part of the state that they put themselves on a wait list for a childcare center when they think about getting pregnant. Think about it. They're not even pregnant yet because they know the wait list is so long.
And that's how people describe how when they save for college for their kids, when they start thinking about having kids, they start putting money into their 529.
Right. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's still not enough, right? It's still not enough. You know, you could be on a wait list for 2 years and still not get anything, or you could save $100,000 and it'll still not be enough to attend one of this country's finest universities.
I know, my
So,
son's a freshman in college right now, and I keep having to write those checks, and they are painful. They are painful checks. And he chose a state school, and he got some scholarships. And it's still painful, to be able to write those checks. And I know so many families, they just can't make it work. They just can't. They cannot get the math together to make it work.
I'm one of those families. I have a son who's a senior in college and a daughter who is looking at schools right now, and people are saying, get a second job, get a third job. Like,
Yeah.
when should I sleep? Should I
Yeah.
sleep at my third job?
I know. I mean, it's just not something.
It's not. But okay, back to Wisconsin. You mentioned something that I wanted to go back to, and it was the education system. So you've emphasized fully funding Wisconsin's public school system. What specific changes would you support that current K through 12 funding formula does not support to reduce reliance on local property taxes?
Yeah, so the way that we fund our public schools right now is very categorical. There's like little buckets that you fund things in. And so we don't look holistically at the child to make sure that the child gets what it needs to have the education that it needs. And I'll give you an example of this. I was in the western part of the state where a school district went from 1% English language learners to almost 10% English language learners in a really short period of time. Not one extra dollar in public school funding to be able to manage that. So that means they've got to rob Peter to pay Paul to make sure these kids get what they need. The other piece to it is that we do not fund our special education appropriately. So in terms of what the percentage is for a special education reimbursement for our public schools, it's about 40%. And we know that those kids need an education just like anybody else. So once again, if you want to make sure those kids are getting what they need, you're going to have to cut it someplace else, whether that's teacher salaries, whether that's getting rid of specials like music and gym. I mean, we constitutionally in Wisconsin are required to make sure that kids get a free quality education within the state. And I don't think that we are doing what we need to do to make sure that the kids get that. In fact, I think it's just today that some of our school districts are actually suing the Republican-led legislature because they're saying they're not meeting their constitutional requirement to make sure they get the funding that they need.
Wow, that sounds unprecedented. Is that like the first time that's happened, or is this?
It happened before in 2003, I believe, and the Supreme Court said, nope, the funding formula is fine, but it's a whole new ballgame right now. And in terms of what these schools are dealing with and how they're having to go to referendum constantly. And you know what? They pass almost overwhelmingly. So we know that Wisconsinites want us to fund public schools because we are voting to raise our own taxes to be able to fund those public schools. So let's make sure we give Wisconsinites what they want. Let's really make sure we have a good, solid, robust public school system.
So one thing that Wisconsin seems to get right that many other states don't get right are school vouchers. I read that they're a success in Wisconsin, or partial success, or
say that there is an enormous amount of money that are going to the school voucher systems, and we need to look at that holistically.
Yeah.
I would say, though, that we have disinvested in our public school systems for so long that we are going to have to build up the public school systems to be able to do that. I'm a big proponent of public charter schools because I think that's a way that we can be nimble and then we can offer different opportunities for families. And I say this as a mom whose son is now in college and did really well in his big high school, took all the AP classes, and my daughter's on her third high school. She just needed a little bit of a different environment.
Yeah.
You know, she wasn't the best kid in class, she wasn't the worst kid in class, and she fell right through the cracks. And we're the same parents, right? We're the same parents that show up for PTO meetings. We're the same parents who make sure she gets her homework done. And she was in a school actually where she just never spoke, not once. And now we've got her in a public school. It's a slightly alternative public school. And I had to have a meeting with her teacher about her talking too much.
Yeah.
So, these are the kind of things that parents grapple with to make sure that we're giving the kids what they need and where they can thrive.
Or they can
And so we do have a pretty significant amount of dollars so going to private schools. We got to look at that holistically, making sure that it goes to what it was originally meant to do, which is low income kids being able to have a choice with where they go in their education.
Okay. Wisconsin school districts face a teacher crisis. On one hand, teacher healthcare costs overwhelm their salary. On the other hand, shortages weaken the state's education system. What would you propose to improve teacher compensation and retention across Wisconsin school districts?
Yeah, so a couple things that are in my plan, which is we are going to be we can open up the state healthcare, the health insurance plan that I'm on right now, to every school district, every municipality, every city. So it can be a challenge when there's smaller school districts or there are smaller municipalities. They have one child who ends up in the NICU, one really bad car accident, and now their premiums go through the roof the next day or the next year. So making sure that we incentivize those school districts to be on the state healthcare plan to kind of even out those risks so that there isn't as much variability in cost is one of the things that I'd like to be able to do. When we are going to restore union bargaining rights in the states, that means teachers will be able to negotiate for salaries. And I think if we're funding schools appropriately, then we're going to be able to raise wages for teachers. The other thing that we're doing in Wisconsin, which I think is really innovative, and we're one of the first in the country to do it, is we have a teacher apprenticeship model. And so what they're doing is taking teaching assistants, so the paraprofessionals in classes, paying them full-time wages, full-time benefits, paying for their time in school, and they are going to be able to graduate with a bachelor's degree in education, and then they'll have to pay back that time within the school district who was supporting them to do that. But it's one of the first in the country to be able to do that. And it's already taking people who we know. They know what it's like to be a teacher because they're already in the classroom right now. They're already paraprofessionals. They're already teaching assistants. So they know what the job is. They're not going to go into that blind. And so can you imagine the type of loyalty you would have for your school district if they invested in you like that? And being able to have that ready supply of teachers, I think is going to be really important.
That's amazing. That's incredible. You're right. That would, I mean, the working in public service is something that I think personally everyone should experience so they know about the bureaucracy they complain about. But yeah, if they're going to pay for people to go to school to get the degree they need in order to do the job, yeah, that's a good investment. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's see. You kind of answered some more of these questions that I had, Lieutenant Governor. Okay, let's move on to healthcare. If anyone has any questions, I see people, there's one person complaining about private schools. They really don't like private schools.
Yeah, it's a thing in Wisconsin. It is in Wisconsin. I mean, but here's what we've done, right? So we have to reinvest in our public schools. So for example, within one of the cities in Wisconsin, in Milwaukee, about 40 to 50% of the kids right now are in private voucher schools.
Oh, wow.
So depending on what number you look at. So if we cut that off tomorrow, that's not good for the kids. It's not good for the families. And we're not sure that the public school can absorb them.
Right.
So what we need to do is do this stepwise, right? So we have got to be able to reinvest in our public schools so that they can absorb these kids and continue to move on to increase the quality of the education all across the state. And then moving that kind of along because we also want it to be really transparent. So one of the things I would do as governor as a first step is for some transparency so that you know as a taxpayer how many of your dollars are going into the private voucher school. So it's really clear to people like how many of those private dollars are going in or those public dollars are going into private schools. We need to make sure that they have the same standards as the public schools because right now that they do not. We need to even out the reimbursement. So right now within the private schools, they get 100% for special ed, public schools get 40%. We need to make sure that the funding is equalized. So if a kid, and they don't have to accept everybody, by the way, in those private schools. They can decide that you're not a fit for them. And public schools don't have that option, right? And so we have to make sure. So what the private schools can do is if they have a child that comes into their school and they decide a month in that that's not the right fit for that private school, they can send them back to the public school system, but they keep the money. They keep the money. So we have got to even that out. And there's just a lot of things we can do as we're working to invest in our public school system.
Okay. We'll move on to healthcare. With an uptick of rural hospital closures in the country due to a lack of funding, your state is seeing 10 hospitals trying to share resources and expand patient access to care, called the Wisconsin High Value Network. Do you have a plan to help with this much needed resource?
Yeah, so my healthcare plan, the public option, is going to be helpful to cover people. Medicaid expansion will be helpful, particularly in rural spaces when Medicaid and Medicare is the payer for the most part in rural spaces. I've also suggested or said that I'm going to have a rural health stabilization fund, because we know that the cuts to Medicaid and Medicare are going to disproportionately affect our rural hospital systems. And we've already had hospitals close. And in fact, I have a dear friend whose daughter was 8 months pregnant and the hospital closed with no warning. And she had to move her care from that hospital to a different hospital. First child, 8 months pregnant. Can you imagine how stressful that is? Like, we have got to stabilize the rural health network, particularly, specifically, because we know that those are the ones that are going to be broken with what the Trump administration has decided to do. And a lot of these cuts don't come in until 2026. And so we're not really going to be feeling those cuts until after the midterm. So making sure we have that rural health stabilization fund is really important. And if we, I know people talk about rural spaces, and we talk about farmers all the time, which there's tons of farmers in Wisconsin. I love my cheese, I love my cows, I love all the stuff, love my farmers. But the number one employer in rural spaces is healthcare, number one. And so if we have hospitals closed, it's not just about lack of access. It's a huge economic lowering of the economy within the rural spaces. I mean, that's huge.
So if it's the number one employer, you're also dealing with employee shortages, right? Healthcare professional shortages. What's your plan for either attracting more healthcare professionals or getting the people who go to school in your state to stay, to not leave?
So I was the chair of the Healthcare Workforce Task Force, and we put out a multi-point plan of how we could attract people to come into the state and how we could get them to stay here. We also have to make sure we're incentivizing healthcare providers to go into spaces where there are shortages, such as some of those rural spaces. But also, if we want to make sure that the education is available to everybody, we've got to look at how we can support that from the state level. So one of the areas that I have proposed is there is a high school within Wisconsin that did this on their own. But they were able to partner with the local community college, where they were able to get their high school seniors to graduate with their licensed practical nursing degree at the same time that they graduated high school.
That's incredible.
And that is going to help with that healthcare workforce shortage.
Right.
But it also allows a high school senior to go out and work and make a decent wage, and then they can do LPN to RN, and then RN to BSN, and then whatever else they want to do. We also have dollars within the state to help people get their PhD in nursing, as long as they agree to stay and teach for 3 years. So those are the kind of programs that we can use and expand upon to make sure that we're offering these types of things. The other one, and we talked about the teacher apprenticeship program, we also have one for nurses. So they take the CNAs and full-time wages, full-time benefits, pay for their time in class, and they're going to graduate in 4 years with their associate's degree in nursing, registered nurse, with no debt. And I told you, I just turned 50 last year. I just paid off my student loans. So, I think that's a pretty amazing opportunity for folks.
And that's much needed, because the changes to the student loan program from the big, beautiful bill has cut into substantially the amount of money people can borrow from the federal government for student loans for professional degrees.
Yeah, I think I called that shockingly stupid. It was really stupid. I mean, honestly, we need nurses. Why would you do something that makes it harder to become a nurse? We need nurse practitioners. We need folks to get their PhDs. Like, really, really short-sighted.
We need therapists. They're making it
Therapists.
hard for people to get a degree in psychology or psychiatry or
Or
whatever.
masters in social work.
Masters in
All of-
social. That's
I mean,
right.
we have, it is a
Yeah.
public health crisis. The mental health is a public health crisis in the United States. Somebody told me that if we doubled the amount of therapists within Wisconsin, it still wouldn't be enough. The need is that great in the state. So why would you make it even more difficult for people to be able to get their degrees and get advanced degrees?
Well, there's some talk that it'll become something that only people who really can't afford it out of pocket will be able to do. So, wealthy people, it'll just become
So only
something
wealthy
that-
people can become doctors and
Yeah.
nurses and therapists, and that's it.
and dentists and
I mean, if you think about the amount of wasted talent that we would have to not put folks through, only if they have money, that's insane.
And then the people who can't afford it, we're told to, go into HVAC, which is fine. But everybody should be given that opportunity if you want to become a dentist or you want to become somebody who repairs air conditioners.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be either or. It shouldn't be, well, you can't afford to go to school, so you're going to install furnaces.
Right. Yeah. I mean, everybody should make a living wage. They should be able to support their family on it. And that's
Right.
not what we have right now. Wisconsin's the minimum wage is $7.25.
I was going to ask you about that. What's up with
$7.25. Yep.
$7 and it's been that way since I think it said 2009,
Ever. Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, it's insane. It's insane that it is that low. And it's just certainly not a living wage. You can't afford anything with that.
No,
you can't
you
support a
can't.
family on that. And, we need to do better and to make sure that people are getting the wages that they deserve. And that when we, increase wages for all, they are going to pay more taxes into the system. They're going to
Right.
be able to have additional services. And so those are the kind of things that we can work on.
And someone asked, who is Tom Tiffany?
Oh, Tom Tiffany, he's the Republican candidate.
Oh, they want to know how your governing style differs from Tom Tiffany's.
Okay, so Tom Tiffany he got Trump's endorsement. So he's going to be the Republican nominee for governor. I would say we are diametrically opposed from each other. I want to make sure that everyday Wisconsinites are able to afford to live in Wisconsin, and not just afford to live, but you should be able to thrive. You should be able to take care of your family. And you know what? You should be able to go on vacation once a year.
Yeah,
You
and
should.
save a little bit of money.
Save a little bit of money. Save a little bit of money for college for your kids, or to be able to save for retirement. Like, these are the things we should be able to do. And all of his proposals, nothing helps the everyday Wisconsinite put more dollars in their pockets. He is just going to be what Donald Trump is being, which is doing tax breaks for billionaires and hope and pray that it trickles down to the rest of us. You know what? It hasn't trickled down to me. I don't think anybody's seen it. And so that simply doesn't work. We have got to invest in regular people and to making sure that they are able to afford the lives that they want with their families, and that they're actually having a little bit of fun on occasion.
Oh, imagine that fun. I don't know that word, Miss Sarah. I don't know what that is. Oh my God. So let's see. I got some rapid fire around here somewhere. So more funding or more accountability? Which comes first?
For schools or
For politicians.
For politicians.
No. More funding or more accountability? Which comes first? Maybe for schools. I think
For
that was
schools?
for schools. Yeah.
You're asking me to pick my favorite child. I don't know. It's got to be both, man. We have to have
They go
accountability.
hand in. Are they twins?
Yes, they're not.
They'll be fraternal twins. So, name one policy that you've thought of or that is part of your platform that specifically benefits farmers.
So one of the things that we have to make sure that we're doing within Wisconsin is they are unable to sell a lot of their food because the Trump administration has taken away a lot of their market. So we're going to have to do that from the state level. And we're going to have to make sure that we expand those markets from the state level. The other thing I would say is what's really important to farmers is groundwater, water quality, as well as air quality and land quality. And we have got to do a better job in Wisconsin of making sure that the water that we have, particularly in our rural spaces, is suitable to drink. We've got places where they have got to do bottled water because we've got PFAS in the water. Those are those forever chemicals. We've got other things going on that, we've got other sorts of groundwater contamination. This is important to our farmers in Wisconsin, so we have to make sure that we're doing it right.
Do you all have the runoff issue from the farms like they do in Iowa with the nitrates?
Nitrates, yeah,
Wow.
we do. And we want to be supporting, we have so much consolidation of farmland. And I've spoken to farmers who want to be able to keep their family farm. They want to be able to continue to do this. And they want legislation or rules to not have so much consolidation around that. So we can incentivize folks within the state of Wisconsin to go ahead and sell their farms to another family as opposed to selling it to a larger, it's called a CAFO, right? Those big types of farming organizations that we know have had issues with runoff from the manure and stuff like that.
Ooh, manure, honey. So now when I ask you this, I'm going to say AB. I'm not going to say the whole word, but it's the ABORTION word. We're not allowed to say that here. So should AB protections be codified into state law? Yes or no?
Yes, absolutely. I'm a nurse. I know what happens when people don't have access to reproductive health care.
Yeah. That seems like a no-brainer. I'm in Ohio, right? So we put the issue on the ballot so we could get a constitutional amendment because we obviously weren't going to get that from the Republican legislature. Is that something that's possible in Wisconsin?
It's not. Actually, we have no way of doing a citizen-led amendment that has the force of law.
Wow.
So the only way to do it, to get a constitutional amendment that we can vote on, is the legislature has to pass it twice in 2 different sessions, and then we can vote on it as voters. But we can't sign a petition and add that to our Constitution. And it's one thing that I think we should be able to do in Wisconsin, because I bet you that if you put that to the voters, they would absolutely say that, yes, we should protect reproductive rights. They would absolutely say that we should legalize and regulate marijuana in Wisconsin, right? They would want those dollars.
You gotta say MJ.
MJ, I'm sorry. MJ in Wisconsin, get those tax dollars coming home. Why are we giving it to Illinois, Michigan, and Minnesota? All of those things. I bet you if we ask the voters of Wisconsin what they want, that this is what they're going to say.
And is that's blows my, are they asking the people of Wisconsin what they want? And if they are, how come they're not giving it to them?
Yeah, we've been gerrymandered for so long. This last election cycle was the first one under our new fairer maps. And so this next election cycle we have an opportunity to flip the state legislature to a trifecta, a Democratic trifecta, which we have not seen in almost 20 years.
Oh, wow.
And in fact, I think there's 1 senator and 1 assembly member, I could be wrong, so don't quote me on that is still serving today that was there when we had a Democratic trifecta. That's it. Out of 99 assembly members and 33 senators, there's just 2 that have ever seen what that looks like.
Wow. And see, but to me, that's like, why are you still here? Maybe you might want to, go fishing or something, or retire. Yeah, it's just, go play bocce ball. But okay, so moving on to economics. You've said that family supporting wages are the foundation for a vibrant middle class. What specific policies would you pursue to raise wages and ensure workers across Wisconsin can support their families?
So number one, we've got to raise the minimum wage. The dollar amount we raise it to, we probably at least have to equal what's happening in the Midwest, right? So we would have to equalize what's happening in the Midwest so that we are at least comparable to that, but we could raise it even more, depending on what the economics of it is, across the state. We also have to unhandcuff our cities. They're not allowed to raise the minimum wage higher than what the state is. So we have to make sure that they're allowed to do what they want to do, because maybe Milwaukee or Madison, those two larger cities, wants a higher minimum wage and can support that minimum wage, whereas maybe in our rural spaces, the minimum wage of Wisconsin is enough. So let's unhandcuff our cities. We want to make sure that we've got really good jobs coming into Wisconsin that pay living wages. If we restore union bargaining rights to the state, that's going to lift wages. The other thing I wanted to say is that, putting more dollars into the pocketbooks of families is a priority of mine. Let's treat childcare like infrastructure. Let's just do it, And can you imagine if you went from paying $13,000 a year for childcare, right? And then you had that mostly subsidized. You could go out to dinner more. You could save for a down payment on a house. You could do all of these things that we're talking about. So those are the kind of things that I'm hearing across the state of Wisconsin, and I'm going to make it a priority as governor.
So what about small businesses? What about a small or medium-sized business? They come to you and say, hey, I can't, if I raise the minimum wage for my workers, if I raise it to $10, I'm going to go out of business. If I raise it to $15, I'm going to go out of business.
Yeah, I'm not hearing that much from small businesses that's an issue in terms of the dollars that we're talking about, like whether that's 10, 12, 15, some of those pieces. I think if we went straight from $7 to 20, that might be an issue for some of those small businesses. But I mean, 99% of the businesses in Wisconsin are small businesses. So one of the other things that we need to look at for them is we need to look at tax policy, and we need to look at how they are taxed as a small business versus some of our larger businesses within the state. And so how can we equal it out that small businesses and large businesses are paying basically the same for, in taxes for the state, because we know that a lot of the larger businesses are able to get all of these different tax cuts of the state, but they're using services. They're using our roads. They're using our school system. They want an educated workforce and a technically savvy workforce. So making sure that everybody pays their fair share is going to be important.
Okay. So moving on to immigration. You've proposed banning civil federal immigration enforcement action in places like schools, hospitals, courthouses, and churches. How would you work with federal authorities to implement and legally support that while respecting federal jurisdiction?
So, we've run this through legal in terms of not going into sensitive spaces, particularly state-owned or city-owned spaces, and we believe there's legal justification for that. We do need to have an immigration system. I mean, let's be clear. We need to know who's coming into the country, and we need to know if somebody has a final order of removal and or they've committed a crime. They need to go back. They do. So we need to have some level of immigration system. But that is not what we are seeing from ICE right now. We are not seeing that they are enforcing immigration. We are seeing that they are indiscriminately picking people up based on what they look like and if they're speaking Spanish. Like, that's insane to me. Yeah. I just think that we need to make sure that we have an immigration system that is humane, that is just, that makes sense for people. And I would tell you that even in my red community, when I am speaking to folks who normally have voted for Republicans, they think that what current immigration systems are doing right now is unlawful, and they're horrified by it.
Well, that's a correct response. It seems to me like more and more people, that's the growing sentiment, is that this is just, it's horrific. It's gone too far. It's un-American, whatever that means.
It is.
But
It is un-American. It is
Yeah.
un-American to ask people to show their papers.
that is un-American, and having people in detention for months with, none of their medicine, 2 meals a
Under
day,
abysmal
and
conditions. Children
Right.
under abysmal conditions.
babies.
Like, this
Babies,
is
yeah.
wrong, and we need to make sure that people are held accountable. The other thing that I have said as governor, if any of those federal agents break state law, they will be held accountable. We will hold them accountable. They cannot get pardoned for state crimes. And so they may feel like Donald Trump is going to pardon them and everything will be okay. But I'm telling you that we will hold them accountable for state law, because I want to make them pause. I want to make them think about what they're doing and really think about, is this worth it? Is this worth going to jail for when I know that it's wrong? Those are the kind of things that I want to make sure federal agents know.
And that's interesting because they usually get immunity from state prosecution. So I haven't seen any states try to go after ICE, and I'm not saying they shouldn't.
Yeah, I know. I think it's an open question, but I am willing to fight that in court and say, tell me why this should not be prosecuted if they are violating civil rights, if they are doing election interference like he's talking about, if they, are doing, undue force, all of these other things that we've seen. I mean, I have eyes, I have ears. We've seen all the videotapes. We know this isn't right. So we really do need to hold them accountable.
Okay. So has your experience, your family's experience with the immigration system, has that informed your immigration policy at all?
Well, I think it is such a complicated process, and you can tell that it's broken, right? It's a complicated process that's broken. And so making it easier for people, we know we need workers in the United States. We know we need them. And so why can't we have an immigration process that brings people into the state, in the state or the country, in a way that's legal, and that they can, make money, send it home to where they're at, and then have, for those who have been here for a long time, have a legal process to be able to get citizenship and legal status. Those are the kind of things we need to be grappling with at the national level, and it's affecting state level workers and state level politics as well.
So what are your top infrastructure priorities for the state of Wisconsin if you get elected?
So we've got a lot of bridges and roads to fix in Wisconsin. And I'm sorry, so you're in Ohio, you probably know this as well, but we've got winter and then construction season, right? That's all we've got. It's like winter and then the orange barrels come out. Right? Yeah, that's it. So only 2 seasons in Wisconsin. But we really do need to make sure that our roads are taken care of. We've got some decaying infrastructure there. Some of our bridges need to be managed. So we need to make sure that we've got the infrastructure to manage that. I'm also a huge fan of rail in the state. So here's my idea. All right. Okay. So people can steal it if they want to, but I want to have a train from Milwaukee to Green Bay, which is where the Packers play, the football team. I want to wrap it in green and gold. And on the way there, we only serve beer, bratwurst, and cheese curds. And on the way back, we only serve water.
Not even a vegetable?
No, there's no vegetables. No
steamed broccoli? He's like, meat, cheese, and beer. That is
there you go. There you go. That's Wisconsin
on a train
for you.
That's moving fast.
Yeah. Meat, cheese, and beer. There you go.
That is interesting. So,
in all seriousness, no, we do need public transportation in the state. We could have had a fast rail from Milwaukee to Madison, and it got, in the last Republican administration, it got cut. And so that always makes me very frustrated that we don't have that type of infrastructure when we could have had it.
What is it about Republicans and high-speed rail? They do not like it.
I don't know, honestly.
I don't understand.
I think the train is civilized. Like, I would take the train from Milwaukee to Chicago. You don't have to take your shoes off. It is comfortable. It has Wi-Fi. It's quiet. You can work. You don't have to worry about traffic. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, I rode Amtrak when I was in college to and from South Bend. I loved it. I don't understand. Maybe they want to ride bicycles. I don't know. So, what approach would you take to long-term infrastructure planning in Wisconsin to ensure continuity beyond any single gubernatorial term or legislative session? So, and with that, I want to ask, did your state at all benefit from the infrastructure law passed by the Biden administration?
We have benefited from the infrastructure law passed by the Biden administration. So there are a lot of projects that went into the state that we were able to capitalize on. One of the things that we need to do relative to infrastructure is we need to have really standard funding for it. So right now, every year, we have to negotiate how many dollars are going to go into fixing our bridges, fixing our roads, all these other things. And we don't have dedicated funds to be able to do that. So that makes planning really challenging.
Right.
And so if we can have some dedicated dollars to be able to go specifically towards fixing some of these infrastructure issues that we have, that's segregated and that we know we're going to have from years to come, then you can do that 10-year plan. And then you're not worried about, back and forth between the different governors.
Okay. So what mechanisms would you put in place to ensure that infrastructure investments benefit disadvantaged or historically underinvested communities in Wisconsin?
Yeah, so that is one of the things that when we look at who's benefiting from public transportation, who's benefiting from walkable cities, we have to make sure that those are focused in areas that maybe traditionally didn't have those types of things there. That we are looking at safety overall within the cities in terms of, can your kids play outside? That doesn't always happen in certain areas within the state. And we have to make sure that we've got structural barriers where you can feel safe putting your child outside for a while. You're not afraid that they're going to get hit by a car or any of those things. And so making sure that we're focused on those areas and getting the infrastructure where it needs to be.
Okay. I got some more rapid fires for you. True rapid fires this time.
Okay.
True rapid fires. What is the biggest misconception about you?
Biggest misconception about me. I think people either think I'm a nurse or I was an executive and they don't realize I've been both.
Ah,
Yeah.
what
Like
is
they
the
kind of
most?
they want to pigeonhole me in a box.
They want
right?
to. Yes. They
Yeah.
want to put you in a box. No, tell
Yeah.
them nobody puts the lieutenant governor in a
Nobody
corner.
puts baby.
Goodness. What's something voters would be surprised to learn about you?
Okay. So I once won a salsa dancing competition in Guatemala. To be fair, there were only 4 other couples and the prize was a bottle of tequila, but I still won it. So I'm gonna keep that one.
And is it your husband that taught you how to salsa dance, or
That's what he says. Well, we're gonna let him have that, but no, he didn't teach me. But that's okay. That's what he says. That's what he tells people.
what's one Wisconsin city you think is underrated?
Ooh, underrated. I love my hometown of Waukesha. Okay, so it is called Guitar City because we had Les Paul, who's this guitarist, and there are guitars all over the city.
Okay.
And downtown Waukesha is just adorable. And they have this thing called Friday Night Live where they shut the streets down and they have bands on every corner. And you can go from different genre to different genre. And it's just adorable. Little shops are down there. And it's a really cute city. I love that.
Y'all hear that? Get to Waukesha. Get to Waukesha. So, what is the most urgent issue facing Wisconsin right now?
Honestly, I think it's healthcare. I think
Really?
it's healthcare. I do. When I talk to people, I mean, they're looking at, trying to get an EpiPen for their kids and they've got a high deductible plan and it's like $300.
Yeah.
And it's not like it's
still
optional.
ridiculous.
It's not
still-
optional.
Yeah, it's not.
And it's just so overwhelming for people to be able to try to afford healthcare. It's huge.
Do you know how many Wisconsinites were affected by the ACA subsidies expiring, the premium subsidies?
I don't know the exact number, but a considerable amount. And I would tell you that I've spoken to small business owners who are just going to cross their fingers and hope nothing happens because they cannot afford it.
Oh, wow.
They can't afford it.
That is too bad. So what is the most important quality a governor should possess?
You know, I have said this before a lot, but I truly believe that power shared is power multiplied. And so being able to lift others and being able to work well with others, I think is going to be important. So I've said this in terms of how I would govern is I'm going to work with the leadership in the Senate and the Assembly. We're going to be equal partners on this. We're going to get these things across the finish line. But there are also a couple other statewide offices. There's the Lieutenant Governor's office, the one that I hold right now. There's the Secretary of State's office. There's the Treasurer's office. We're going to assume we're going to get all of those offices. I'm going to ask them, what do you want to lead on? Here are my priorities. I want you to lead. Let's make sure we get these things across the finish line so that we are all rowing in the same direction. And those are the kind of things that I think that we should expect from our governor and we should expect from leadership overall.
Okay, I like that answer. So, what does public safety mean to you beyond policing?
So, public safety for me is making sure that kids have a place to play. That public safety is making sure that we are fully investing within our school systems, because we know that one of the predictors of incarceration are literacy levels. Literacy levels is one of those predictors of incarceration.
Right.
Also, truancy within schools is also another predictor. So if we can just put all of our love and our money and our attention into our kids, this is going to increase public safety later.
Okay. Should Wisconsin revise its sentencing laws?
So we have some examples across the state, like Minnesota, who has done some revisions of their sentencing laws, and they have been able to reduce the number of people who've been incarcerated without an increase in crime. And so I think we need to look to our neighbors to see how they've done that and if we can copy some of what they've done. What I've heard from people who have been incarcerated and then came out is that it is really easy to get to violate parole and go right back in for really like simple administrative errors, whether that's not telling your parole officer that you changed jobs or that you changed addresses, like simple little things. You didn't do it in the right amount of time. So I think we can look at criminal justice overall to make sure that what we're doing is we're keeping public safety central, but that we are doing it in a way that makes sense and that we can have people coming out of our prison system that are going to be taxpayers, that we are looking at that as a hidden talent pool. How can we make sure that when they're there, when they come out, that they're going to have a good paying job? Because again, one of the predictors, the best thing to reduce recidivism or for people to go back into there is to make sure they have a good paying job.
That's right. Yeah. It's not, penalize them further by making them pay. Like in Florida, you still have to pay off your whatever remains on your sentence. You still have to pay for that time.
Yeah, who has that? I mean, you're already incarcerated. You don't have a job.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What is your position on, we call them pew-pews. What is your position on pew-pew policy at the state level?
I think we can do common sense pew-pew violence, violence reduction. And that includes doing things that the vast majority of Wisconsinites want. We're a big hunting culture here. Nobody wants to take away firearms for hunting. We don't want to do that, or for personal protection. But we knew we can have universal background checks. We can make sure that there are red flag laws, that we can take those items away from people who are a danger to themselves or others. That we can make sure that we don't have weapons of war on our streets, and that we're not worried when we drop our kids off at high school that we're going to see them again. I mean, we are unique in the world for having the number of issues that we have with violence. And so there are things that we can do, and I know Wisconsinites overall support it, and so we can put that into legislation.
And one question I forgot to ask you about the farmers. Are you hearing that they are relieved because the illegal tariffs were struck down, or
Well,
are they pensive, or what's?
I don't think that they know how to plan, because then
Right.
Trump came out and said, now he wants to do 15% overall taraffs. And so I don't know how you plan as a business, and farms are a business, how you plan without being able to know how much things are going to cost. I don't know how you plan for that. And so he's making it extraordinarily difficult for businesses to plan, extraordinarily difficult for small businesses in particular to be able to afford what they have. But yeah, I mean, every job I've ever had, you had a 3 to 5 year strategic plan. How do you do that when you don't know what's going to happen in one tweet or the next tweet overall? You have no idea.
Okay, that's fair. That is fair. So if you are elected governor, or when we're gonna chat that up, when you are elected governor, what will be the single most important change Wisconsinites feel in their daily lives 4 years from now because of your leadership?
We're going to put more money in their pockets. That's what we're going to do. We're going to treat childcare as infrastructure. We're going to lower housing costs. We're going to lower healthcare costs. We are going to make sure that their property taxes are reduced. We are going to make sure that their energy costs are reduced across the state. That is what's going to be, what I think would be successful, is that people have more money in their pockets while still living in a place that they want to live, while still having parks and other resources, because that's what your taxes should be paying for.
Do you see those property taxes coming down just a little bit?
I do see the property taxes coming down. I think if we fund our cities and municipalities appropriately, and we fund our school districts appropriately, we can reduce property taxes. We can.
Okay. So Wisconsin is politically divided, like you've mentioned a few times. How would you bring together Republicans, Democrats, and independents to move the state forward?
I think you start with things that are popular across the state. You know, we know that people want to fund their public schools. We know we want, to make sure that we have healthcare accessibility. And I am willing to work with anybody who has a good idea. Honestly, like, I am happy to be able to do that. And so being honest about that and reaching out to Republicans and saying, hey, I see you've got this, maybe they're putting out some legislation that is a really good idea, but there's a couple things in there that I'm like, if I want to sign it, I need something else to make sure we've got protections around privacy or whatever. Reaching out and saying, like, hey, I think this is a good idea. Can we talk about what a couple other things we could do to make sure that this is going to be something that I can sign, and that you can go back to your district and say that you worked and got this done.
Okay. If you could speak directly to undecided voters tonight, what would you want them to remember about you and your platform?
I think that not only am I going to talk about affordability, I have concrete plans about affordability, and that they need to know that I'm going to fight. I'm going to fight for Wisconsinites, and I'm going to be laser focused on making sure that Wisconsin is as great as it needs to be. I'm not going to get sidetracked with any of the other national stuff. This is going to be a Wisconsin-focused campaign and a Wisconsin-focused governorship.
And how is the campaign going so far?
It's going well. It's been really interesting to be able to travel across the state. So in the primary, I'm going to all 72 counties. A couple places I've already been twice. No matter how small, no matter how red, I'm going because I do strongly believe you can't lead if you don't listen. So I've been doing that and getting a lot of good support there in terms of people hearing the message and being excited about it. The Democratic Lieutenant Governors Association is going to be putting $2 million into the primary race, which is great. That's exciting.
That is great.
Yeah. And we've had some other commitments for some other partners to be able to put some dollars in as well. It is a full primary, but I think that's good. I think it battle tests us for the general, and it gives people some choices to look at. And I would just encourage people to think about electability in November. We have to win this thing. And not just win for 4 years, but we have to continue to win, because 2030 is when the census happens. And that's when redistricting happens. And if we don't have a Democratic governor in 2030 or in 2031, we're going to be in trouble.
And are you able to kind of lean on Governor Evers and be like, hey, can you give me some advice on how to proceed, or where I should put a
would be
billboard,
advocating when I am governor, I would absolutely be asking for his advice on how to do things, because I think it's important. He's been really clear he's not going to endorse in the race. He doesn't want to put his thumb on the scale. He wants it to be a good, robust primary. And so, I would always welcome his endorsement, but he's been clear that he wants the voters to decide.
And so in your particular race, the Democrat primary, you have the former lieutenant governor running. What's that like?
The
person who had the job before you?
I know. It's going to be interesting. I like Mandela. I think he's. I think all the people who are running, they're good people. I just feel like what I bring to the table is a little unique, a little different. And I think it's important that we think about the general. And I think working outside of politics for as long as I did, plus holding elected office, I think is a unique skill set. And I think it's going to be helpful to be able to run Wisconsin.
So what's it like working and running simultaneously? You're working in the lieutenant governor's office and you're running for governor. What is that like?
I don't sleep a lot. I mean, that's true. I do try to get home every night, because I do say I like my husband 80% of the time. So, and we've been married 20 years now, so I feel like that's a good percentage.
That's a good amount. Yeah.
Good amount. I do try to get home at night just to say hi to everybody and say hi to the 16-year-old who's still living at home. I turn off the Wi-Fi so she comes out of her cave, right? It's a challenge. But as my husband told me, I voluntarily chose this path, so I'm not allowed to complain about it.
That's true.
So yes.
So what do the kids think?
They're funny. So my son, he's in college, and his roommate doesn't even know who I am. He hasn't told him.
You know what? Okay, listen, and please don't take this the wrong way. And when I was researching you, something that I came across was that people don't know who's running for governor. Yeah. They don't know the candidates running for governor. And I said, what do you mean?
Yeah.
And one of those people is the actual lieutenant governor. How do they not know you? What is happening?
I know. It's really interesting, because the lieutenant governor kind of sits in the shadow of the governor, and it can be a little bit of a challenge to kind of make your own name and do your own thing. But we've got a plan to introduce me to everybody in Wisconsin. We've already got teams that are on the phones who are calling into primary voters, talking about my background, talking about what I've done as lieutenant governor, and so if anybody wants to volunteer, please go to my website and volunteer. That would be amazing. And once it gets a little warmer in Wisconsin, we'll start knocking on doors. We have a spring election coming up in April, and I think things are going to get a little bit, so people are kind of paying attention to that one. It's a Supreme Court race. And then I think after that, people are going to start shifting to pay attention to the governor's race.
So the Supreme Court race, what is it? Is it heating up? What's the lean? Is it like?
I haven't seen any polling on it right now. I think the last poll that I saw, a lot of people were still undecided, but we were able to win our last Supreme Court race with about the Democratic endorsed candidate led it by about 10 points. And so I think that's exciting. And I think that works well for us and predicts well for us in the future.
Right. You all had that big one last year where it was everybody was talking about it. Everybody around the country's talking about it. Oh, I remember that.
One of the most expensive races in the country.
Yes, you had a foreign visitor come into your state.
We had a foreign visitor come into the state. Yes, we did. I know. Put a lot of money. You know what? You can't buy Wisconsin.
No, you can't. And that is good to know. I love that. I love to hear that. We have come to the end. The end, my friend. Oh,
thank you for having me. It was lovely to meet you. It was lovely to answer the questions.
I am honored, honestly, that I got to speak with the lieutenant governor of Wisconsin. I told my daughter, and she was like, okay. I'm like, you don't understand. She's the lieutenant governor. These kids, she's 17.
I know.
Whatever.
Kids keep you humble. That's the thing.
They do. Everything we think is a big deal, they're like,
whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I'm going to be made fun of quite a bit for not being able to do this in the beginning. So I just let you know that my children are going to be making fun of me for probably a while.
You know
okay,
what?
though.
You don't have to show them the replay. You don't have to show it to them.
I won't show it to them.
You know,
They'll
you
have to
tell
find
them
it
it
on
was
their own.
lost. It was lost in the somehow didn't get posted to YouTube channel, Our Vote Counts YouTube channel.
All right.
It's Our Vote Counts YouTube channel. It didn't get posted. Sorry, you guys. So sorry. But thank you for joining us this evening. I have had such a wonderful time talking to you, helping you get your message out, helping people to understand who you are and where you stand. We had fans of yours in the comments. People were like, yes, we love Sara. We need help in Wisconsin. I'd love to hear that. Wisconsin is poised for new leadership in the governor's office, and it starts with voting, people. You got to vote. You have got to vote. And the primary, register to vote. And does Wisconsin have early voting?
We do. We have early absentee voting where you can go into the election site itself, but you can also get a mail-in absentee ballot.
Okay.
So you can do that right now. You can go online and get your absentee ballot, and it can be delivered to your house, and then you can fill it out at your leisure, right? That's a way to be able to avoid the lines on election day, because God knows what's going to happen, right? You could get sick. Something could happen on election day. So make sure you vote early absentee, or you get that paper ballot.
All right, y'all hear that? You can do early absentee voting right now. Do not wait until August. Don't do it.
You can't early absentee vote right now, but
you can get the
early
ballot
absentee vote before the August election, but you can register right now.
Okay, scratch that. I have no idea. I'm in Ohio. I'm so sorry. I know nothing about Wisconsin elections. But you can register. You can check your registration and make sure you're registered. A lot of people have been kicked off the rolls and they don't even know it. They don't know it. So you guys, see, someone says you will be their first woman governor. And hey, we're chatting it up. We are. We're saying it. We are.
Awesome.
So, and thank you again for being here with us. And thank you to the audience for the engagement and for the likes and for all of the gifts and everything, you guys. We really appreciate it. Looking ahead to our next event, because we're here through November 3rd. Looking ahead to our next event on Wednesday, February 25th, 2026. We have Jennifer Wiles, who is the primary candidate for North Carolina's House District 75 at 6:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then that is followed by Courtney Peterson, who will be with us at 8:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. She's a primary candidate for the U.S. House of Representatives. Oh, why can't I talk? Representatives in Ohio's 11th District. And I am proud to say that I had just a small hand in helping Courtney decide to run for office. So again, join us here tomorrow, Wednesday, February 25th, 2026, starting at 6:00 Eastern Standard Time for Jennifer Wiles from North Carolina and Courtney Peterson from Ohio. And thank you again to Lieutenant Governor Sara Rodriguez for joining us here this evening and answering all of my questions and chatting with me. I am Ayana Fakir. I am a moderator here at OVC. And if you would like to be a moderator at OVC, all you got to do is send us a DM. That's all you got to do is DM us. If you would like to join our team, we've got all of these town halls coming up, and there's just a few of us who are available all the time to do this. We need more people, more hands. You see these hands? They're small. No, they're large. But they're only 2 hands. We need more hands on this deck. So if you would like to join us and do what I do, ask candidates questions, chat, talk, be funny, be whimsical, send us a DM and let us know your interest and your availability. If you think you can sit and talk to political candidates for an hour and a half, you think it's easy. It ain't. It ain't easy. But it might be for you. So again, send us a DM. I am Ayana Fakir. Again, this is OVC, Our Vote Counts, a nonpartisan movement uniting Americans from all walks of life to empower voters, support candidates of integrity, and ensure every voice is heard through education, outreach, accountability, and action. We're building a stronger democracy, one informed vote at a time. We thank you for joining us. Remember, your vote is your power. Check your voter registration. And if you're able to vote in early voting in any of the states that have a primary next week, please do it. I think you have until the 27th. There are some states who have a primary next week. Vote early. Don't wait for the primary day. Vote early. Vote now. Go tomorrow. Have a plan. Go do it. Don't skip it, because if you skip it, somebody else gets to make the choice for you, and you don't want that. You're an adult. You can do it. Okay, y'all. OVC, play us out.